Okay, let's take a look at how we sharpen a plain blade. I'm going to use the straight edge jig. This is included with the WG250. So first of all, I've set the support arm in the vertical position so that the stone is going to move towards the blade. The average angle of a plain blade is around 25 degrees. Now remember this hollow grind scenario. We need to set the angle setting jig to around 27 degrees to compensate for the hollow grind. It's set at 27 degrees. I've put the heel onto the stone and the flat edge of the gauge is flat on the plain blade. Okay, nice and slowly, even grind. Okay, so let's look at the finished grind. So what we've got here is a nice consistent angle across the length of the tool. And the great thing about this jig, if it's set correctly, it'll make sure that you've achieved a 90-degree angle across the face of the blade. And there you can see that's what we've achieved. Our next step is to do the honing process. So for honing, what we need to do is change the position of the support arm to the horizontal position. And if you think about this, the last thing we want is for this leather honing wheel travelling towards the blade. The blade will just tear it off. So for all honing, we need to have the travel of the honing wheel away from the blade. I haven't taken the blade out of the jig. We're going to place that onto the wheel, and with a simple trick of blackening the cutting edge ground angle with a marker pen, I'll be able to establish the exact same angle for honing. Okay, I don't know whether you can see this, but there you go. Can you see how I've blackened that edge? It's a bit like engineer's blue. Okay, so what we need to do now is position the cutting edge angle on the honing wheel so that it gives us a consistent angle. So I'm just going to use the micro adjustment and sight it. I'm just going to take a look, adjust the support arm. Now this is where I think looks right, and I will test it by simply moving the honing wheel, and I'll see what that gives me. Oh, look at this. So on the blade angle, can you see that all that's doing is taking the heel of the blade? So I need to adjust the support arm so that I can make sure that all of the marker pen is removed consistently. And because it's going off the heel, I want to bring the angle of the blade out slightly. So to do that, I'll wind the micro adjustment, and I'll see what this does. Ah, perfect. Can you see that? Okay, so we know that our honing angle is now consistent with the ground edge angle. I'm going to just tighten these locking nuts here. It's worth mentioning at this point, however, that some cabinet makers and joiners may like to have two angles. So the honed angle might be slightly greater than the ground edge angle. This is really a matter of personal preference, but for the sake of this demonstration, I'm going to go for a consistent angle. So the next step is to turn the machine on. And I'm just running the blade back and forth along the honing wheel. The cutting compound that we have put into the leather strop will produce a razor sharp finish. Alright, so what this process has done is it's kicked up a very fine wire of metal along the back edge of the blade. This is called a burr. This needs to be removed to get a razor finish. To do this, we could run it along the strop in that direction, but with any flat edge tool, it's always a really good idea to keep that back as flat as possible. So my preference would be to use a bench stone. So let's keep it flat. So that's helped to remove that burr. If I wanted to get this to a super razor finish, I might just put it back on the machine. One last go with the honing wheel. And we truly have a razor finish. Okay, so let's just prove a point on how sharp this blade is. Across the grain on a piece of softwood, I'm really taking just fine wafers off. This is razor sharp.